I'm not going to let this one sit as a note, so it's going to be fresh and more raw than usual. It is something that's been in my mind since I had first heard about it. Okay, so I'm talking YouTube specifically, so this is going to eventually, I hope, be dated when the platform changes further, when everything changes. So there's this feature that was introduced in YouTube called, I think it was just called annotations. Now the idea was after after a video has been uploaded, it's fixed, and that can prove to be a problem. So, for example, um, I can go through, say, let's say this video right now, and I like it. And I look at it, I edit it, I go through all this stuff, and I upload it. Imagine somebody uploads a video and they were happy with it, but there were problems that were either found by the audience or by themselves, that like legitimate mistakes, things they forgot to edit. It could just be you put it out in the audience, you've got enough of an audience. There's going to eventually be enough expertise somewhere out there that somebody's going to do a fact check. And it could be a fact check of something fairly fundamental, or it could just be somebody mispronounced something, used the wrong word. You can't do anything about it, especially if you've got a YouTuber who has either they're notable, and so removing a video is somehow inappropriate to their presentation of themselves, or it was successful, right? So somebody, especially if they're very small, they make a video and it wins, it's successful, a lot of people see it. Well, you can't take that down and then what, edit it and put something else up? Are you going to attract the exact same people? I don't like the idea, because now all the comments have been deleted, essentially. Now there are ways now to actually scrape all the comments away, which I mean, I think that's really important to do. But how do you restore all that? Because you can't. You can provide that as data out there, but it's not available in the appropriate, I want to say context, that's not the right word. It's not re-available. So you can actually have circumstances where there are flaws, but there's no recourse. And what the annotation feature allowed is just to put up like a little speech bubble that says, this is, I learned later that this was wrong. You know, you just somebody, they're talking in the video, then you have a little pop-up that puts the reference or that corrects the word. Or I mean, sometimes it can be really simple stuff, but because you can have links, now you can have user created advertisements. Probably the most interesting thing is it was sold as, like, I could make a 10-second video. I think that was the minimum length. I could make a 10-second video, and it was just like one minor scene, and at the end titles would have like it would be a graphic, and there would be a bunch of choices. And you could click on the choices, and it would be a multiple choice. It would be a choose your own adventure in video form. That's how it was originally presented. And that's a really interesting, unique thing. And it was impactful enough. And as somebody who cares about data, features, about the authenticity of a thing being a snapshot in time, the fact that that feature has been turned off, okay, it does bother me. It does bother me. I understand why it was eventually turned off. They did some like, well, what's the impact? What's the use? What's the maintenance like? You know, there are challenges for keeping. You can't just build the feature and then just have the feature be there. You have to build the feature and then you have to support it. And as technology or the interface changes, as web browsing standards change, as whatever, like YouTube used to have videos only in Flash, in what was then Macromedia Flash, then became Adobe Flash. But Flash it was always a garbage technology. It was the one that was in popular use because it was included in Windows by default. Like Internet Explorer, the only way that it was used at all was because it was just there. And YouTube used it because most people had it, and YouTube did eventually get away from Flash. There are videos out there that are probably still only in Flash, but they have always been so unpopular that YouTube hasn't gotten around to processing them and turning them, those 240p videos in Flash, haven't bothered turning them into what is now generally WebM, but is still MP4 is the better quality, smaller file size stuff. But YouTube keeps the sources and then just edits them again, because storage is less expensive than the bandwidth. So as the technology improves, they will examine the true source, and they will look at it again, they will process it again, they will present something with the latest technology for whatever browser generation. They'll have the other ones available there, and it will automatically give whatever they think is appropriate for you. They do a great job of it. So that's all there, and carrying that all forward, that's fundamental to the platform. However, a feature like that, what they did is they turned it off at one point. They gave notice and all that, but at one point they turned it off, and that bothers me. That bothers me because now there is something that was possible that is no longer possible. And it's something about the uniqueness of the platform itself. Now, it did bother me. This feature did bother me because if I wanted to archive something, right, because videos vanish, people vanish. These days, it's far, far more common. Especially the platform would just point to somebody and go, everything that they've ever done evaporates right now, just gone. And but that worry has always been there, not just from the platform, but just in general. Somebody might delete their stuff, but some things might have a significant cultural impact, and somebody somewhere, like the internet forgets, and it's people like me who make it not forget, but it still forgets, even with great effort. But those videos that have annotations, nobody knew how to really download any of that stuff and present it and have it, like, because your video player doesn't know how to do that proprietary YouTube thing. Even if you could go and grab that data, which probably wouldn't have been hard. Now you'll notice I use past tense there because they didn't just turn that feature off. They removed it. They deleted that functionality from the website. You can't even get old videos to show that stuff anymore. And this is a particularly large problem with videos that, well, like I said, it's important for some videos to have that stuff in there, because that essentially becomes after the fact a part of the video. Now, it becomes completely crippling when videos relied on it. So there are choose your own adventure videos, and all of the choices are locked behind the unlisted feature. So you can't just look at an author's channel and just get all the videos and then somehow know the links between all of them. That's not even possible. A person can't even stitch it all together by hand just by downloading all the videos. They can't do that themselves. Just it's gone. You've got videos that are there. They're there, but you can't get them. And if that channel author doesn't care or isn't around, it doesn't matter how culturally impactful that choose your own adventure was, it's gone. It's just gone. And it's so bad that it was there and it's still right there, and it's right there. And does YouTube still have that data somewhere? Because it's nothing. It's a tiny little text file per video. It's the amount of data you can put more in a comment, in one single comment on that video, takes as much data as an incredibly complex series of interactive annotations. And it bothers me that that's right there, but it's been intentionally removed. And so that represents that is the here and now memory holing of stuff, locking things away, even unnecessarily. And if that were just available as a download, I mean, nerds can figure that shit out. Just make those data available for each of those videos as some little link feature download thing. Just like technically transcriptions should be, technically all comments should be, translations, all of the things associated with a video should be downloadable. And this is one of the examples of a feature that was there, technically should always be there, should always be accessible, or at least archived somehow. And it's, even with notice, it's gone. And even with notice, it isn't possible for other people to have the endeavor to go, and there is no way to just like, how do you get a list of all videos on the platform and sort it and find all the videos that have annotations and just back those up? That's something YouTube could have done. Well, in comparison to everyday people, they could have done it. It was possible. It was possible. They didn't do it. They didn't care. They didn't try. And yet they're archivists enough to understand the need to keep the true source of every video that's uploaded, but they can't keep the source of the annotations. It's baffling how ignorant and selective people are, and they don't understand. Like, I know right now I will be making some incredibly fundamentally stupid decisions that I will regret after the fact. There are people that will. I learned the other day, literally a couple days ago, that one is a channel I don't follow or anything like that. I poke around, I browse, I explore, and it was one of those idiot commentator channels. And they had a podcast. They had an old podcast that they don't have they don't have around anymore, and they did it on this proprietary platform, and they didn't keep their sources. They didn't download their stuff after the fact. They weren't their own subscribers, and they didn't just not listen to their stuff, which they should. I mean, why not? But they didn't keep copies. So when that platform went belly up, their stuff's gone. They actually made a live podcast with a bunch of people that aren't necessarily working together anymore. And so that unique snapshot, those opinions, that period, that archaeology, that snapshot, that it's all gone. It's all gone because they made the stupidest decision to not actually download their stuff. Because you can't trust that. You cannot trust that service right there. You can only trust yourself, and even then, there's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily consider. Have you made backups today? When's the last time you made a backup? Never. What happens if your computer's struck by lightning? What happens if your house burns down? All right, your data is it safe? If you spent an hour that one time when you were a kid with your best friend, and it's been 10 years, and your best friend got cancer and died, and those memories, that's what you've got, is a series of videos that you made in 240p that was just awful, but that's what you've got. That's the authentic version of your childhood back then with your then best friend. And you screw up, and something gets corrupt. Your hard drive dies for no particular reason. Like, did you make backups? Did it actually matter in the first place? Because at that point, it exists in the mind of God. There's some record somewhere where things hopefully will remember, like the impact on this idea of karma, when everybody does something that it matters, it's remembered somehow. Well, it's going to only exist in the minds of two people. One of them is dead. The other is you. It's vague, certainly inexact. And it's the same thing with something like video, anything like proprietary storage, relying on some service somewhere. Like, when's the last time you did a Twitter takeout, a Google takeout, Facebook? Well, any proprietary service that's popular today, it'll be gone at some point. At some point, it's going to be gone. It gets even weirder because at some point you're going to be gone. And everything you've done is going to be important to somebody. Maybe for reasons you can't understand. Like, for example, that picture there, that picture there, right? This, where I got that, where I got that and who made that and stuff like that is completely irrelevant to me, right? I have stories involved in every object that I own, and I know enough that I can retell the stories. It's my nature, but I'm not doing it because I don't know what to do. I don't know what's valuable. But the fact that this is in a video, has been in several videos, this might have cultural impact, cultural importance to people that I'll never meet. Maybe I'll be long dead. And the fact that I've recorded this in some sense, at least here, means something to somebody in some future generation, maybe. Right? We now make more content than we have moments to actually review. Like, do you review 100% of your content? Maybe not. Okay, so I've ranted a little bit too much. So YouTube annotations, I don't know what they were thinking. Everything's turning the feature completely off, removing it, and that data is just right there. Like, and I would be willing to use that stuff. That would be important to me, even though that I would turn that junk off. I mean, I think a lot of people would just turn that off because it was so dumb and annoying and it wasn't actually used. But when it was used, it was really important. And because it's even rarely really important, it really matters to support all of it. It really matters.